All right, perfect. We are live here at the PRI pod. Say it. I can't say it.
We are at the PRI Paddocks and Podcast Studio.
Yes.
That's a
Thank you
mouthful,
very
man.
much.
It is.
This
I've
20
been practicing.
I'm telling you, it's a little crazy. 2023 has been absolutely wild to start to finish. But one thing that's been even crazier is the week we've had here. Like we're Saturday at 1 o'clock, and for the folks that are listening to this later, you got to understand. I'm going back through this now. I'll probably be adding photos and things like that as we move through all of this, but this has been nuts. Tommy's been every time we've gone by the Summit Racing booth, it's been crazy. So again, welcome to Drag and Drive Addiction podcast for I don't even know what we call the show, the PRI recap.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Live from PRI.
live from PRI. That's exactly right. Well, Tommy, introduce yourself. I think the folks here will know who you are, but we got to tell them more.
Well, I appreciate that. Tommy Dupree with Summit Racing Equipment, involved in the motorsports and events division as the train goes by. So what we do anytime you see the brand away from the one of our campuses, whether it be a sporting event, drag racing, monster truck, dirt car, anything like that, drag and drive events. That's what my department does. We fulfill sponsorships and corporate sponsorships with different sanctioning bodies and racing communities, teams, all things of that nature.
Well, you're a huge part of our brand, the Drag and Drive Addiction brand. You guys came on board last year, and we've gone nuts. We've been at a bunch of different events together. You guys made history with us. You are the sponsor for the Drag and Drive World
I think
Champion.
you two guys made more of the history. We just kind of help facilitate. So,
Well,
no, I've probably seen you two guys more than my wife this year. So.
Well, hey, I enjoyed that. That was
Good.
we like that a bunch, and it's only getting bigger. You know, Drag and Drive took a huge jump in 2023 from a huge jump in 2022. What should we look for in 2024?
Well, I tell you, with our involvement and other more corporate entities getting involved and actually realizing it has a viable form of drag racing or motorsports in general, I think you're going to see more and more companies like us jump on board and want to get involved. Anytime that happens, it just helps spread the word about what this sport is all about. We've seen a severe increase in the number of events that are available now. We talked yesterday about the difference between national events and regional events, and the regional events definitely help guys that maybe aren't ready to do a national event.
Yep.
So they come out and they get their feet wet. They're like, "Yep, my car's good. I can do this. I'm going to go try to get into drag week or sick week or Midwest or whatever that national event might be." So I think it's only going to keep growing and growing and growing. There's a lot of guys like me that came from the traditional drag racing world, and we put our stuff in a box and we go to the track and we make our qualifying lap or our time trial or whatever, and we hope we get past first round. If we don't, we're done.
Yeah.
With the drag and drive part of it, it gets you more seat time. There's more experience. There's more little bit of everything to do with the car and your buddies. It's a much more relaxed. The competition is fierce. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we could talk all day about Bryant and Brian and those guys that pull all the championship and what they went through and the Hargets and what they tried to do to make it happen. But at the end of the day, we're all a big brotherhood camaraderie type deal. So that I think is attracting new racers too.
Well, certainly, like just as you said, you may go to the racetrack as a regular racer, what we call it, and you may make 4 passes all weekend or 6 if you make it this big in there. At a drag and drive event, you may make 6 passes in a single day, then load up in that car that you built at home and drive it to the next track. So you're getting anywhere between 50 and 300, 400 miles, like on Rocky Mountain Race Week, between track drives. So these are events that these guys are going to drive 1,000, 1,200 miles in these race cars. You've done that.
Absolutely.
What is the feeling when you turn right out of that first racetrack and all the stuff that you need to race is in the back of that trailer and you have no support vehicle?
You hope it's in that trailer. You do the best planning you have. I was supposed to do drag my first one in 20, and I thought I was ready. And then, of course, COVID hit. So drag week got pushed off a year. but that actually did me a favor. It let me go back, and I wasn't in such a hurry to get things together. I really double checked my program, and we were lucky enough to finish our first drag and drive event. But it's a very surreal moment. You show up at the track and you go through tech, which is in itself is an event. You see all these cool racers that you've been following for years, and get to see their platform, and they'll talk to you just like your brothers. But you make it through tech, and if you want to do the test and tune day to kind of make sure your program's good for the track the next day, you make your lap or 2 laps, depending on what the event is. When you pull out that gate and you turn left or right to start the route, it is the most horrifying and exciting thing I've ever done in my life.
Yes.
Jim Greenleaf, which is my boss, he's motorsports manager for Summit Racing, and another guy that we're very good friends with that works with Summit in our costing pricing division. We decided to do the three of us together. Well, I have a
Trans Am.
fourth gen F body. It's not the most user friendly to have a passenger. Jim is 6'10", so he got the front seat. Chris is about 6'2", 6'3", somewhere in there, and he sat sideways for 1,300 miles. The very first one we did, and we've one shape, form, or fashion, we've done all of them together. I did Drag Week this year with Chris and another employee from Summit. He rode in the back, a little shorter guy, Kevin. And then Jim and I did Midwest Drags this year, and had good success with that. So, we love doing it together. Summit is one of our taglines is powered by enthusiasts. We sell a bunch of parts. We talk a good game, but we also follow that up with actually getting involved in these sports. There's so many gearheads at Summit. It's incredible. Not just drag racing, dirt track, all forms of stuff. So, it's we're happy to be a big part of that community.
Yeah, and you certainly are. You obviously are a big part of our brand. I mean, we love you guys. We lean on you guys a whole lot to kind of help us grow to that next level. I mean, but you're involved in a lot of the events. You bring the big truck, I would say, the parts truck to the events.
Yeah.
And that makes it really easy for guys to make it to the next track. There's been plenty of times where I've seen guys buying parts from you.
We do that. Obviously, we're in a business to sell parts. I've got to justify having the truck out there, and we have no problem doing that. But from the first one we did, and we saw what people might need and what opportunity there might be to help these people to stay competitive and make it to the next track. Jim and I made the decision right then that we need to find out what we need to do to get involved with these races, and we have that 42-foot toter home, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But the last half of it is garage space, and it's full of parts. We carry a lot of parts, and it's a feel-good thing for the company. They may only have 2 or 3 orders from us historically. Hysterically, yes.
We are hysterical.
Yes, it's day 3 of PRI. We're all hysterical. But if I'm able to help that guy out and he gets to complete a drag and drive event, I hope I made a customer for life doing that. So it's important to keep the guys moving up and down the road. If we don't have it that day, we do our best to get it. If they can limp it to the track the following day, we'll do it overnight and try to keep them going.
How has the inventory changed from what you carry the first event that you guys did until like where you're at now? Have you changed the amount of things you bring?
Yes. We started the parts truck before we ever even had the idea of bringing it to the drag and drives. We did big money bracket races. We did some NHRA events, endurance racing, autocross. We did quite a few events with it. And it's a hellacious learning curve to figure out what you need to try to cover all that. We've kind of now made our inventory shelving more modular, so that if I'm going to a drag and drive or I'm going to a road race or whatever, we can kind of curtail what we have on the truck inventory wise. But the drag and drive thing for us, the busiest day we have is tech day. Because everybody, especially like the first of the year, we'll lose sick week here in a month or so, month and a half. Everybody forgets that you need to have a 15 helmet at least.
Yep.
Oh man, my belts are 2 months out of date. I don't have the right suit. I used to run, 11 flat. Now I've got to have a 3-layer suit to go 999. So the first day for us, the safety stuff is probably the biggest day for us and the most important to try to help racers out because we try to keep a ton of that stuff in the truck. But spark plugs, injectors, all types of ignition pieces. We have more plumbing than this building probably has. AN fittings, anything you can think of that might go wrong. Even some brake stuff, brake lines, brake pads, all types of stuff.
That's awesome. Well, let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about growth that we've seen in the entire motorsport of drag and drive. 2019, there were 5 events total across the world. 2023, there were 33 events. That's more than 6 times the events in just the span of 3 years, 4 years, something like that. If we don't count the that 1 year that we'll forget about.
Yeah.
It's been intense to see, but what's really cool about 2 years now is the level of, I don't know, I'm going to say cooling efficiency, fuel pump technology has come a really long way. And I like to attribute that to the drag and drive community because it's easy to make a car go 8 seconds and live.
Sure.
But now these cars are going 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 miles on that same big pump that they need to go a 750 in.
And to touch base or sidetrack from that kind of, I won't say forced, but made manufacturers realize that, my standard XYZ pump is good for those 7, 8, 9 seconds, whatever. It's not good for 300 miles.
Yeah.
What can we do to make that better, to make it last so that they have the performance on the track and they're not having to switch over to a street style pump to make it last on the road. So all of that coming together has made a huge difference in the industry. And even as far as what Summit decided to have brand wise and product wise, we have more stuff now that's directly attributed to the drag and drive stuff, longevity stuff. Some of it's transferred over from road racing. Hey, these guys are using that and it's working great for a 9-hour endurance race, so how can we make that work in a drag racing application too? So there's a lot of rollover from that.
Yeah. It's been fun to see the growth from that. We're looking at, I would expect 40 events or more in 2024. We're looking at,
I think you're undershooting it.
Wow, really? I think we're going to have more. So we had 33 this year. I mean, that's probably not a crazy assumption. We've seen a huge boom in regional events, which we call regional events, which are weekender type stuff.
Sure.
You're probably right, to be honest. Like, I mean, we're probably way under because we're already at 25 events with dates just for 2024. And we hadn't even hit 2024 yet when the tracks will release these new times and weekdays that they can be available to these different promoters and things like that. So you're probably right.
I think you're going to see some of the major already existing events throw in more drag and drive stuff. I know, like the LS Fest, they have a form of a drag and drive thing. But I think now that we've all established what an actual drag and drive needs to be legit, I think you're going to see some of the other sanctioning bodies or other major races start throwing that in. The guys are already there.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that let's like Britt Wasala. I mean, I've seen him at Texas 2K this year. I've seen him at World Cup. He's a drag and drive guy.
Oh yeah. Fastest radial tire car in drag and drive.
Right. So I think you might see some of those events try to throw that niche in there as well. The guys are already there, and they really like the drag and drive better than just the standard drag racing side of it. So I think you might see some weekend or week-long events that throw in some drag and drive.
That's a great point. And, we've talked about that behind the scenes. There's a race series that has about 14 events across the country that is based out of Kansas City, Missouri, that we feel like could fit this format very well for a small group of drag and drive racers. Again, a drag and drive format is we expect racers to drag race for their best possible time, drive somewhere, come back and drag race again. And those passes on separate days create their average ET for their standings for the class.
Right.
So you're right. Those racers are already there for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. Literally throw in an 80-mile drive in between the race days to a cool route stop somewhere, and suddenly you have a drag and drive.
And I think too, they may be leaving some meat on the table by not offering something like that. for me, will I go do a standard drag race again? Yeah, if it makes sense and it's close to me,
Yeah.
something that kind of meets what my car does. But I think it might be an attraction to some of those events too,
Well, yeah, and so what's a typical entry for like a race weekend, $200 or $300?
Yeah,
So for another $150, you could have a completely different experience with your drag and drive setup. And as sponsors become available for things like that, as we keep growing as a community, we're going to see people come in and sponsor a drag and drive class that could also fit within what they're doing already.
right, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head right there. If for a minimal amount of investment to an already existing event, you could attract a whole nother level of sponsor
Yeah.
to the event. And we all know it's about paying the bills at the end of the day. So.
Well, right. And so that's where we come in on that next step is how do we create that? We were already talking to Race Series about adding some things like that for 2024 to their deal. But Eric and I actually take that data and we turn that into racer lists. So we run a full like top 100 list, a top 50 regional list within 8th mile, 235 tire, 275 plus tire. So we collect that data and then we ran the awards, the first ever Drag and Drive Awards on Thursday right here.
Which was awesome, by the way, guys.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that. And so then, we're taking it one step further than just a standalone event and we're making this an entire series.
Right. Yeah. And I think that was maybe, I won't say what was missing in Drag and Drive, but you guys did a fantastic job of that. After Jim and Chris and I did our first one, and we see all these new series or new races popping up, in the last 2.5 years, like you said, it's more than 4 or 5 times what it used to be. We're a fan of trying to make a big deal about that. And, it's easy to do it within a division, say NHRA, IHRA, WDRA, whoever, but, and as the drag and drive promoters or the race operators, it was all kind of apart.
Yes.
Promoters,
Yep.
while they didn't step on each other's toes, there was nothing that kind of maybe bring a unity to that.
Right.
So this championship has definitely done that, and I think the format is great. And we saw guys that try to run for a championship that wouldn't even maybe do 1 or 2 drag and drives a year. Now they're doing 3 or 4 or 5 and trying to do that. And we're all very competitive, and anytime you can throw another chance for us to be a champion in something, we're done. We're going to do it.
That's exactly right. So let's talk about Brian Goldstone, Ryan Hargett, and Corey Thompson, top 3 drag and drive world champion points series. So let's start with Corey Thompson. This guy is an animal, comes out 67 Chevrolet Chevelle, twin turbo, big block.
Way faster than the car looks.
Yes.
Yeah, it amazed me the first time I saw it.
Yeah, that car on a set of Kragers could be in a 70s movie all day.
Right.
And
right.
then it goes out, busts off some 780s, drives 1,300 miles on 2 different trips, 2,600 miles just on those, plus the 600 or 500 at Six Summer, 2,100 miles. Had the heads and the entire top of the engine apart
Right.
at Six Summer because he was by himself. You can't have any kind of people helping you. He's out there wrenching on that car in the pits by himself, getting it back, put it back together, finished the event, won his class, set a personal best at every track, and finished with a 780 average. Insane.
Yeah, that's in a car that size is insane. The mileage on in the engine program and the drivetrain program that makes that car that fast is just phenomenal. That's attributed to how well these drag and drive programs, as far as the individual racer programs, have come a long way.
Yeah.
It's one thing to go to the drag strip and I broke a valve spring. Well, we're out for today. Put it back in the box. No, I broke a valve spring. I'm 600 miles from my truck and trailer.
Yes.
I've got to figure out how to make it at least get back to the truck and trailer. But 9 times out of 10, we do what we can to help get them
Yep.
back on the track too. And these guys are very resourceful. I've seen more roadside repairs of beyond sketchy stuff, but it got them to the next track. And that's what's the cool thing about it. You got to be resourceful. You especially for a program like his, that's to be able to run the ET in mile an hour and have the success he had with a program like that is just, it's incredible.
Well, let's recap his season because it's absolutely incredible. He wins the hot rod class at Six Summer, He wins the hot rod class at Rocky Mountain Raceway that raced at Bandimere, 5,800 feet. He resets the ET and mile an hour record at Rocky Mountain, then does the same thing again, same tracks at Race Week, ends the year with 110 points, leads most of the year. He was probably in the lead, what, Eric, 4 or 5 months of the year, probably?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. He goes from there. So he does all that. Well, now Ryan Hargett, insanely competitive. S550 Mustang makes 2,300 horsepower. This guy and his wife Tammy are out. They're going to race this. They get down to Southeast Street Meet. There's one national level event that is points eligible. They had to run faster than they ever have. They double entered in 2 different classes on 2 different tires. So they're changing from their street trim to 235 tire, making their passes, changing to a 275 tire, making their passes, back to street trim, driving the rest of the week. They had to win their class, reset the ET record, average a 4-second 8-mile ET average, and win their class, of course. So they had to do all of that to tie Corey Thompson in the lead that he had. Well, we're coming into Southeast Street Meet. Behind the scenes, Lonnie Tibbs had been needling at Bryant Goldstone to, hey man, I think you really have a chance to run at this. And before Southeast Street Meet, Ryan and Tammy were 4 points behind Bryant. So if Bryant did the same thing that Ryan and Tammy did, they could beat him. But you know how racing these drag and drive cars is. So Ryan and Tammy go out, they make crazy passes, end up in the 4s, run personal bests all week in the car. They'd never been on a 235, win the class, 480 something average. I mean, it was insane to watch them go through that. Then Bryant comes out, troubles day one. I mean, absolutely has 1 hour of sleep.
He had everything go wrong with the passenger seat fall out, I think, at that
Yes,
street
yes.
heat. So yeah, he definitely earned that.
Yep. And you know, it's funny, he's not a guy that is going to typically, I'm not going to say fight for that because he is competitive.
Sure.
But he even told us when he was on one of the previous shows that he was like, I usually let things like this go ahead and go the first time, and then I'll chase it. But he's like, because of my race car friends, because of my drag and drive family, I went ahead and pushed for it and wanted to go after that, and it worked for him. So he won his class, reset the ET record in the unlimited class for street meet, and became the first ever drag and drive world champion presented by Summit Racing. It was really cool to see that. If you guys haven't been by the booth, for the folks that are here at PRI, we'll have the trophy over there until probably 2:30 today. He's coming by in a little bit to pick it up, but it's a big belt made by Tom at Cold Heart Art. It's the coolest trophy I think I've ever given out.
It's fantastic, man. You guys went way above and beyond what we kind of had an idea. We want to make this cool, and the Cold Heart Art guy, he does fantastic stuff. I've seen his stuff for years, and the belt he created for Bryant is just over the top. If you haven't seen it and you're a drag and drive guy and you need a little inspiration about trying to chase a championship, go by and see that thing, man. It is, I want to try to win it.
That's right. And that's the rule package that we're kind of putting together, points package we're kind of putting together for 2024 that should be out in the next couple of days, because we want a car that, now Tommy's car NA runs 10s. We want a 10-second car to have that opportunity. So that's where it comes down to. We're looking for, if you're going to be a world champion, you have to win classes. You have to be fast, but you have to make these trips. So, but he didn't only win this belt. Stephen Friesen at FHP Design hand bead rolled and did this beautiful panel that'll go up in the man cave. So I want to say thank you to Stephen for doing that. Mickey Thompson basically gave him 2 sets of tires.
Right.
Thank you to Jason Moulton for doing that. Precise Built Tools gave a torque wrench and case that they can throw in the back. We obviously threw in a lot of drag and drive addiction apparel. We want those guys wearing that front license plates. And Summit Racing gave him $500,
which
we know he's going
to. I need to get that to you when we get back. We thought about that all week. I'm like, we got to do that.
Forgot.
All right, good.
So he's coming by. He's going to do that. Now, what booth are you guys in? And they can meet us there when we get done with this.
4401.
4401.
Yep.
And it's cool. This is your second year at PRI as a booth, right?
It is.
Maybe.
Yeah, second year back. Well, historically, Summit has never been in PRI. We have probably 70% of the manufacturers in this hall within our inventory. So when we decided to do it, we didn't, if you come by the booth, we have a really awesome car there, which we'll talk about in a minute, but there's no parts there. And it kind of shocked everybody. But this is a place for us to meet and greet with all the people like you guys, with the tracks, with the race teams, with the sanctioning bodies, that we only get to talk either in a Zoom call or a phone call or an email or whatever. So it's very good to get a face to face, and it gives us the opportunity to talk about what are we doing in 24? What are they doing in 24? What do you need different from us? So it's a little different vibe than the normal Summit booth where we try to sell parts and stuff. We are taking orders here, and we do have a special show discount if you want to stop by 4401. But it's more about the community and the face to face time with all our partners.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about the car that's in the booth, because it's gorgeous, but it has a license plate on it. And if anybody's heard me announce at the Midwest Drag Race Series, you know I love cars with tags.
Yeah, no, this thing is a very good partner. The owner, Rick Ware Racing. He's actually the team owner of Clay Milliken's Top Fuel team.
Yes, I love Clay.
He has a NASCAR team. He has sons that race motocross, supercross. He's another car guy that's really mad at his money, and he tries to get rid of it as fast as he can. But no, it's a beautiful car, blown big block. It is, as we say, street legal.
Hey, headlights, taillights, and blinkers.
It's on the street,
and
man.
a horn.
And a horn. Yes, yes. So no, it's an awesome car, and we started talking to him a few months ago about PRI and maybe the possibility of Clay's or one of somebody's cars, and then he contacted us and said, "I've got a really cool street car. All right, good. Send us pictures of it." And we're like, "Yeah, okay, you can bring
we'll
that.
take
Yeah,
that.
that'll do."
Yeah, gorgeous car, maroon, first gen Camaro.
Yeah.
Just absolutely perfect. I love the satin finish on it, or flat, or whatever you would call that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, he did a really good job with it. We're happy to have it.
Yep. Well, if folks don't know that are listening out there, we run weekly shows. We do a weekly live stream on Wednesday nights, and all we cover is drag and drive racing. That's it. That is my addiction, is to drag and drive racing.
All of us.
Yeah, it really is. It has become a way of life for me. Obviously, I left my corporate job back in July, and now I'm doing this full time. 13 events this year I attended, intend to obviously go to 18 or 19 events. So if my wife is not watching this in 2024, we're already setting that schedule up. Eric still has a full-time job, but I'm telling you, we've earned every minute of vacation time that dude had. He's probably negative vacation time right now.
Well, this was it right here. This was the last of the vacation I had, was to show up and spend the weekend here.
That's awesome.
Well, to both your wives, thank you very much for letting these guys come out and do what they do, because they do a great job.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
we certainly appreciate that. I do want to talk about some of the stuff that you can find on dragonddrive.com. We have gathered the entire the entire history of Drag and Drive, and I'm working through all of that stuff to bring people the lists from 2005 to 2023's Hot Rod Drag Week. Thank you to Billy Gebhardt and that family for collecting that data and making it easier on me. They are a big part of what we do. They're a big part of the Drag and Drive community, and I would not have been able to do what I've done in the last 18 months without the Gebhardt donation. That was a huge win for us. I've done that with Rocky Mountain Race Week. With any drag and drive that has happened that had any kind of notoriety, I have the data. The cool thing that we're going to be able to do now is look back and see how many Clark Rosenstangles we have, how many Steve Edens we have that have competed 15 times in these events and different events. Steve Eden and Pete Holm are great guys. They're like in their 60s, and for 15 years straight, they competed in the same car and completed Hot Rod Drag Week. They put motors in that car, they put transmissions in that car, they put rear axles in that car, and have always made the trip. What's funny is this year they did 6 Summer, the first time that they did not do a Hot Rod Drag Week only, and they broke the car. They couldn't make Drag Week this year, and Steve was a little bit heartbroken. But I'll tell you, that means it's going to give someone an opportunity to catch that number.
Right. Now that is a feat in itself. You know, completing one is a major undertaking, but the fact that they've done 15 is just incredible. I hope I have that longevity and drive to keep doing that. That's and my wife doesn't divorce me, but but no, that's incredible.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of stories that come out of this
Yeah.
stuff. That's how committed these people are to this, or maybe they should be committed. I don't know, but no, that's great stuff that comes out of it. The stories out of this type of racing.
Yep, and I want to give a shout out to Jonathan Stonecipher. Without him and his pushing, I wouldn't be doing any of this. And we look back at like his career. He did 2014 with Drag Week, and then 2014 was a pivotal year for Hot Rod Drag Week for the drag and drive community, because then after that you had Rocky Mountain Race Week, One Guy's Garage Drag Weekend, and then it just has absolutely blown up since 2015. So it's crazy to see the level we're at right now. We're talking. This is 1950s NHRA, right?
Absolutely. That's a perfect analogy. It's a whole new jumping off point for this type of racing.
Yep. And so we're talking with partners like Summit and other sponsors like Molly and Howard's Cams and things like that, for us to be able to up our game, create more content, but not just content that people want to watch because of the drag racing, but news stories, things that come out of this that are important for the entire drag racing community, not just the drag and drive community, which is so small. This year we had 4,100 racers, 4,300 racers, competing events. We've never seen anything like that. Even last year it was only 1,800 total. But this year there were 2,100 national level event racers. So if a vendor is not looking at drag and drive racing as a way to get in the community, they are missing out big time.
Absolutely. There's, even from a vendor manufacturer standpoint, because we spend more time driving the cars, the parts attrition is more than most drag. I can testify to that. So if you're not looking at that is looking for repeat customers, in the good standpoint, hey, this thing lasted, 2,500 miles. I think I'll buy another one, and it's a whole nother game for manufacturers to look at, and maybe, like we talked about a minute ago, develop new products that maybe are more geared toward this. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out here. If any manufacturers or anybody looking to get into a new form of motorsports, this pretty much covers all the bases.
Yeah, I would almost venture to say this is one of the fastest growing motorsports in the world, definitely in the US.
No doubt in that. I mean, you went from, in 2 years, 13 to 4,800 cars or competitors. I mean, you're not going to see that anyplace else. There's not any form of motorsports that I've seen, even with what I do, that the numbers increase that much.
Well, let's talk about racers competing in multiple events. We awarded Drag and Drive ambassadors to 3 racers during the award ceremony. Rich Guido took it. He drives his 1,500 horsepower stick shift GTO across the country several times a year. Went to 4 events this year, 1 stick shift at 2 different events. This car makes, again, 1,500 horsepower, weighs 4,000 pounds. He was one of the guys that won that. I saw him walking around a while ago.
Yeah.
And then Dustin Cottle and Don Cottle, father and son team, they raced in 8 drag and drive events in 2023 alone. Several regional events, but a lot of national events, 8 of them in a Chevy Love truck,
Right.
Turbo LS.
Right.
Just absolutely crazy. Phil Balmaceda drives a slammed ZR1 Corvette, drove it from Houston to Alaska to compete in Alaska Speed Week, stayed on the road and did Rocky Mountain Race Week. He was on the road for an entire month doing drag and drive events. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of Rich and I can never pronounce his name right, Raj.
Yeah.
Or another Canadian for Robic. The Canadian guys are making us American guys look weak. I mean, they're not only driving the whole drag and drive, but they're driving through the drag and drive. I mean, Rich has got a 3,000 mile round trip before he even gets to the track, or makes a pass.
Events. Yep.
Right. So that's
Robic was our drag and drive Road King award winner because he put 35,000 miles on a car or truck and trailer, making it to and from drag and drive events this year.
Right.
He did 5 national events, which means he spent 5 weeks with his drag and drive family covering all parts of the country. They did California, they did Death Week with Sick the Mag, he did Sick Week, Sick Summer, Hot Rod Drag Week, and Midwest Drags.
Yeah. That's a monstrous commitment, and applause to those guys. I can't do that. I don't have the time with what my career does. Obviously they do, but it's still a major commitment and a lot of faith in your equipment. But that's a testament to how popular and how fun this stuff is. These guys are, yes, we're competitive, and yes, they like to win. I think I think Rovick might have the most number of passes
Yes.
at a drag and drive
Yeah.
event. It's not uncommon. You need one a day. He probably puts in 25 or 30 a day to get to where he
Yeah.
wants to be, and then he hits the road for another 200 or 300 miles. You know?
It's amazing to watch him put that on there. Let's talk about another couple of people. I mean, we have the Michael Westberg ships his S10 from Sweden
Right.
over here, absolutely destroys Sick Week.
Yep.
So we have one Swedish guy come over with his truck, twin turbo LS, 388 cubic inches, dominates SMX engines, twin turbo big blocks, ends the week with a 646 average. Crazy time with him. Stefan Gustafsson comes over
Yeah.
from Sweden. Now his car stays here with Eric Yost, Biggin stays here. They tune on it all year. That car's coming back with more power. He was the second place finisher for the top 100 list we run. That's also sponsored by Summit Racing. So you have that. And then our third place guy, Mr. Tom Bailey, who's here, I think probably out here in 6 seconds 1.0 in the gear vendors booth, the orange Camaro that's over there. That car has been raced for 11 years. Always, I mean, that's a 6-second car and has been for a long time. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it has. And, again, I how these guys can do that. That was one of the really cool things about drag and drive stuff is now it's expanding globally.
Yes.
You have the Swedish, we have the Australians, we've had pretty much a number of the continents come over to do this. And, just to touch quickly on Street Week Sweden, I hope to get to do that next year or the year after. We have a lot of good partners and friends over there.
If you need somebody to carry your luggage out here, dude.
I even know a guy over there named Jimmy Alund that he has a few cars we could go and drive over there. So yeah, Jim and I have talked about that quite a bit.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, it really is cool to see them doing that, seeing it happen everywhere. We saw one pop up in New Zealand the other day. Now there's like 4 that happen in Australia. For the first time ever, this year we had 2 weekends where there were 5 drag and drive events happening across the world. It was pretty crazy. So on Eric and I's side with the news and the show and talking about it, you start looking at how many stories can we tell. Not what are the stories, it's how many stories can we tell.
I don't know how you guys keep up with it all. I'm seriously, you guys take more notes and your spreadsheets must be just, I know you're a spreadsheet guy, but I would lose my mind trying to keep up with what you guys do.
It's been pretty intense. The one thing about drag and drive compared to like NHRA, IHRA, WDRA, those guys they're professional, right? A lot of us, we're all event promoters. We're drag racers at heart, right? A lot of the stuff is handwritten that we're transcribing onto Excel spreadsheets. So sometimes names get misspelled or a William becomes a Bill at one of the events, like Bill Fowler did to me this year. Almost missed getting him on 2 events. A lot of that happens. Robert and Bobby and Bob,
sure,
all that stuff happens all the time. So when you start talking about spreadsheets, I've literally every line of 2,100 racers have gone through at least 6 or 7 times after each event to make sure that everything is right.
Right. No, I don't know how you keep up with it at all, man.
It's lack of sleep.
One thing that's cool about our 2024 season that we're looking at, we're going to hire somebody to help me with that so I can get back to telling the stories. I can talk to more racers. I can tell more stories, and I'm ready to kick that off. I really am. This PRI has been great. You can tell my voice is absolutely finished. We've talked to, we've probably had 1,000 people come by and stop at the booth. We've given out special decals. We've only got about 40 of those left that are PRI 2023 specific. So if you haven't been to booth 4746, please come by, find out what a drag and drive is, find out why you need to become addicted.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got only a few more hours left of the show, so we want to get as many people over to the booth as we can, talk to as many people as we can, because again, we've got 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours and our weekend is done already.
Yeah,
Feels like we just got here.
One of the biggest reasons that you need to come over is we don't have a list on site, but we have the website that you can QR code into and see the list of 2024 events that are coming up and start kind of getting an idea if one is close to your house. There's already 25 on the schedule for 2024. Again, I can't imagine how many we're going to have by the end of this week, by the time everybody gets home and sets stuff, because there were a lot of events. Redwood Rally has a full 10 by 20 booth here by the Street Outlaws. We have Big Sky Race Week was here. Sick the Mag was here talking about their events with different potential sponsors. all that stuff. We host our own event in April at Mocan Dragway. Shout out to Mocan Dragway. They've been awesome. We love you guys. And as we see more and more and more drag and drive promoters attending PRI, I think we're only going to see the growth even more. You may be right. We may get, I hope we have more than 50 events.
You want to do a Coke bet on it?
Oh, I'm in.
How many we have?
I'm in.
I'm going to say 42.
Oh, 42. All right. I'm going to say 53.
53.
What do you got?
By the end of this year,
But 2024 starting January 1 to December or into December 31.
42 and 53,
53.
48.
All right.
All right.
We've got it. It's on record now.
And I mean, we've already seen like Big Sky is a new event this year that we didn't have last year.
In Montana. Like
Yes.
this is an entirely new region of the country that we're going to get a chance
Right.
to race.
That's very exciting. I actually talked to those guys at the booth today
Yep.
quite a bit, and we're going to try to work something out with those guys too. So
Perfect.
yeah, no, I would like to go just to do the drive.
Yes.
There's been a couple of guys on the East Coast that have talked to us prior to the event and even during the event about doing another event out that way. So we have 33 this year, and there's even more racers wanting to put on their own event. So I believe it's going to get up there. I don't know if it'll get to 50, but we got our numbers.
You said 48.
Well, you guys kind of put me in a spot there. I couldn't go too high. I'm trying to split the difference between you guys.
Awesome. Okay, so whoever wins gets the Coke, right? That's
Yeah,
the deal?
absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. We're gonna do that. Guys, thank you so much for watching online. We appreciate you guys in it. I do see the comments out there. We had no way to do it. The computer is about 8 feet from me right here. I want to say thanks to PRI for including us. And we talked a little bit to Leanne out there. Thank you. Big shout out to Leanne for letting us in at the last minute. This kind of happened because of the Get Out and Drive podcast, guys. John Meyer and Jason Carr kind of helped us with connections. We want to say thank you to them for allowing this to happen. This has been really cool. And I hope we get invited back for 2024. And if we do, I hope the On All Cylinders podcast can do this as well, because Justin came by the booth the other day. That dude's a ball of fire, man.
Justin is a life-size cartoon character. He does a great job for us. And yeah.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, if you haven't done it yet, you need to go subscribe to Drag and Drive Addiction. If you're here at PRI, please hit us up, booth 4746. If you're online watching this, subscribe and follow us wherever you're watching at. We do this on 8 different platforms, or 8 different channels. So we don't know where you're watching from. So make sure you're following us right there. And I want to say thanks to everybody that has listened to me scream and my voice crack and all that stuff this afternoon.
You're almost done, man. You're almost done.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Cool.